Hello, it's Kid Owlets. Welcome to another Leadership Journey video segment. Today, I've got a special guest with me. I've got none other than Dr. Brett Savage. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Brett and I have been on this stage several times, and we're going to repeat it because, as the saying goes, we need to be reminded more than we need to be instructed. So I've got several questions for Dr. Savage today as we try to keep alive this idea of Phase 2, Phase 3. So, Brett, my first question to you today is, a number of us are specifically engaged in executive coaching with you, and so I was hoping you would speak to what is executive coaching and its purpose.
Well, in the most rudimentary answer to the question, we're trying to change how people think and how they behave. And they seem to go together often. Mm-hmm. And more specifically, having them think in broader Phase 3 way and less in Phase 2 ways, and behave less Phase 2 and behave more Phase 3. So that's the target for us.
Okay.
And that's the basis of it.
Yeah.
And it's not, it sounds simple, but it isn't. We're struggling with it.
Yeah, I hear you. I've tried to stay close to those that are getting coaches also, and they've expressed that while it may seem simple, there's a lot behind it.
It is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
There is a lot behind it.
Yeah. Okay, great. The second question I have to you is, how do you balance Phase 2 with Phase 3?
The balance is always the struggle. Most of it is letting go of the Phase 2 part, because they think, well, wait a minute, I won't be contributing that way. Can I trust somebody else to contribute that way? And once you get past that, they realize that they didn't lose anything. It's all upside. They gained it. The balance is partly within their team, within the context of their world. So they begin to reset expectations as they talk about, hey, here's a process. Who would like to own this? And so a lot of it is negotiating that as you go along. I know of no, here's the right balance. I've never seen it. It's always got to be negotiated with your direct reports, your peers, your boss, which is the world in which you work. The nice thing is it can be negotiated, and the people at E&H are doing it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's working, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question I have to you is, why does it feel like at times that Phase 2, you might think of it as like a magnet? Why does it feel like a magnet at times?
Yeah, we have a list of Phase 2 magnets that the research shows of what pulls me back in to acting and thinking like an individual contributor rather than somebody that's thinking more broadly. There's a few things. One is the consistency of the habit, is that I'm so used to doing it, I just automatically do it. I just had this conversation 2 days ago on the phone, and the person I was coaching said, well, Brett, it's just easier and faster if I can do it myself. And I said, did you just say that to me? And he goes, oh, no, I just caught myself. There's one of the Phase 2 magnets. It is easier and faster and kind of simpler if I just do it myself. I said, but every time you do that, you've lost an opportunity for them to do it better and faster, and maybe better and faster than you ever did. But you wouldn't know as long as you do it. So there was a moment of, oh, there it goes again. So one of the magnets is habit of just doing it myself. The other is the people around you expect you to be it. They come and ask questions about technical issues and expect you to have the answer. And when you don't, there's this odd, well, why aren't you telling me the answer? And so the people around you can be a magnet to say, we want you to be in Phase 2. We need you to be in Phase 2, because they don't realize how much better it would be for them if you were in Phase 3, having them come up with the solutions and ideas. And so part of it is just, it has been a success factor for us. It's a huge KPI individually for me. The idea is, now that I've been promoted into a management role, the logic is I better keep doing that then, because it was a success factor for me, when now it isn't. And you've heard it before, what made you successful in your previous role will actually make you unsuccessful in this role if what we need is more Phase 3. And so there's a huge magnet of pulling you back, just of, but wait a minute, I probably got promoted doing these things.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to give those up.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, the next question we've got from our list of questions for you today is, how do you know you've arrived at the right balance of Phase 3? And then part two of that is, what's the key insight for a leader to consider as they think phase 3?
Yeah, as they think that way. The phase you're in is determined most reliably by the people around you. You don't get to vote. Even more so, your boss. What phase does your boss think you're in, which will dictate what kind of assignments you get and what happens next and whether you get promoted perhaps if you're looking for the next role. So because those individuals who have some more control over your destiny, their perception matters, then one of the best ways of balancing that, how do I do that, is to be in close contact with your boss, setting expectations of, and then resetting expectations of, what is the best way for me to contribute in this role? And one of the things we're doing with a couple of folks in the group that we're coaching is, not only that, but is that going to help you in the next role that you're shooting for? What is the expectation there? It's like even more phase 3, then great, you're working well, and it'll work well for you in the next role to make you look like a really good candidate for the next one. And it's always negotiated one-on-one, setting expectations of the people around you. We set sort of the general framework for it, phase 2, phase 3, but you've got to work that out with the people that are in your real world.
Yeah.
Feedback helps, right?
Sure.
We get some feedback from people. We just had a latest one saying, what would you love to see this person change? And they said some good things. And it was, interestingly, it's like we'd like to see them stop doing phase 2 things.
Wow.
Whether they said it that way or not, it was, we need more phase 3 out of you.
Sure.
Which is a great pull in the right direction of, no, we need this. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
So it's working.
Ooh,
It's balancing.
Yep.
You kind of two steps forward, maybe one back sometimes. But it's happening.
I love it. Cool. That's good to hear. Okay, we've got one more question for you, Brett, today. Can you share maybe from your 30 plus years out in the workforce, maybe it's longer than that.
Oh yeah, we'll stop at 30.
Your favorite story of executive coaching in terms of maybe an employee getting closer to phase 3.
I was thinking of that, and I have so many. We could be here all night. Here's the one that seems to make sense. It was a group like the one at E&H. There were 4 of them, of this group of 12, that for some reason unknown to me, just caught on to this right away. Those 4 alone in the last quarter, we had a year just like we have now, and they were making some individual changes and reworking expectations with their bosses, and as all the people around them were changing, in that last about 5 months, they did more in the last 5, even 4 months than they had done in the previous 7 of that year, because everyone else was helping them get traction and they weren't going, what are you doing? And those 4 returned about $500,000 each on net cost savings for that group. It more than paid for all of what they were doing, 17 times over, in fact. And all 4 of those guys have now been promoted into roles that they didn't have anybody for, because everybody was the smartest person in the room, rather than I'm going to make everybody else the smartest person in the room. So if you see 4 do it, you know you're onto something. 1, you think, well, that's a one-off. But when you see 4 do it, and they have since stayed in touch, and they continue to do it, so I still get reports from them saying, this is working. I did, because it ended and I went and they were purchased by another company, but those 4 have stayed with me and said, hey, we all got promoted. Did you know that? No, I didn't. Wow. We're all sticking with phase 3. We'll never go back to phase 2. And so they continue now to not only make a contribution, but they survived the downsizing and reorganizing of the organization precisely because they were phase 3.
Wow.
It seemed to work out.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it makes me very excited when they succeed.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I get to do is watch them succeed.
Well, we're certainly on a similar sort of expected journey. We want those kind of results for our organization. And you've heard it from the guru and phase 3 Yoda type in terms of how do you help an organization and its individual leaders get out of phase 2 and get to phase 3. So I want to thank you for your time today, Brett. And I encourage and invite all of you to stay connected to this pursuit that we have of getting to phase 3 on our journey towards preeminence. I'm Kid Alowitz. This is Dr. Brett Savage. We'll see you next time.
Be phase 3.